Vanessa, we're going to get started with you and the situation in Lebanon as Israel continues striking that country.
Yeah, I mean, there's a huge amount going on, so it's difficult to cover all of it, but I've tried to provide basically an overview. So since Monday, Israel's expanded aggression. They're now targeting even the central mountain ranges of Lebanon above Byblos and the northeast, so no longer only in the south. 558 people have been killed, including 50 children, and well over 1,000 injured, and many, of course, still missing under the rubble of the homes that have been destroyed. Just a very quick video clip of a number of the airstrikes since Monday, just to show the ferocity.
هيدي الضربة ضربوا على الساحة الغازية عنا على العين.
Multiple displacements, of course, of tens of thousands of people. These are the queues heading from the south into the north, and even in Syria, we're receiving thousands of Syrian and Lebanese refugees, and the Minister of Health has opened all hospitals. The President has opened all governorates to receive the refugees. At the same time, Hezbollah is responding and also expanding the war deeper into the occupied territories. They've targeted, among other areas, the Ramat David airbase, or the Etzel Weizmann base, or Wing 1, which is the main base the Israeli occupation forces use for aerial operations in the northern direction towards Lebanon and Syria. It's also the only Israeli Air Force airbase in the northern occupied territories. The Megiddo aviation company, which was established by British occupation forces in 1941. In 2004, an Israeli government committee led by former Air Force Commander Bodinger decided to create a new airport at Megiddo in 2009. Renovation and expansion operations were carried out. And today, for the first time, Hezbollah used one of their ballistic missiles. They've been using generally their lower grade missiles until now, but they used a ballistic missile to target the Mossad headquarters in Tel Aviv. And that, again, is the first time that Hezbollah has targeted Tel Aviv. Of course, Israel and the Israeli forces have been putting out messaging, declaring victory, declaring that they've destroyed the majority of Hezbollah missile launchers. But in reality, these are both from Mayadeen, a former Israeli security advisor, says that Israel is not even close to beginning to destroy the capabilities of the Islamic resistance in Lebanon, and asking if Hezbollah has been defeated. An article or opinion piece today in Israeli media. Has it been defeated? Will it surrender? The answer is no. The IDF has also been producing its normal standard of propaganda to justify the slaughter of civilians. We have to remember that if it were Russia killing 558 civilians, almost all of those in one day, there would be outrage from the West. So here, the Israeli Defense Forces initially put out a tweet saying that the reason that they had destroyed all of these houses was that basically Hezbollah was storing and launching missiles from those houses. Later on, that post was deleted and it was rewritten to exclude the information about the missiles being stored in the houses. And of course, this isn't new. This is the standard argument from the IDF to justify targeting properties, civilian properties in Gaza, in Palestine, and now, of course, in Lebanon and in Syria. Last night, to show that the escalation is also extending into Syria, The Syrian air defense, this is from Israeli media, was triggered amid alleged Israeli strike on the port city of Tartus. Now, what's interesting is that I'm being told by people here in the military that in reality it was an attack by drone from the Al-Qaeda factions to the north of Latakia on the coast and Idlib. So this, again, demonstrates how the so-called rebels support their Zionist funders, backers, armors, and supporters in Israel. And again, this is also quite interesting. This story has been repeated twice in the last 2 weeks. That's why I wanted to point it out. So yesterday, Haaretz published an article claiming that 40,000 militants had arrived at the border with the occupied Golan territories, which are, of course, Syrian territories occupied by Israel, from Yemen, Iraq, and from inside Syria. Now, I have to say this is nonsense. About 2 weeks ago, there was a story about Yemeni forces of similar numbers. I think it was 25,000 coming to the same area. And of course, this is virtually impossible, but it also hasn't happened. What I believe it is to frame a narrative. If we have a quick look at the map, it'll frame a narrative. If we look where the drone strike happened, so that was on the western coast of Lebanon, where I've put the red star is where they're claiming that these 40,000 strong forces have gathered. Israel, we know, has been clearing the mines that it had planted in order to prevent the Syrian army entering the occupied Golan, which suggests that there is potential of an Israeli ground of invasion. I think it's far more likely that there will be a bombardment on the basis of this narrative that Syria and the resistance axis are gathering forces at the border with the occupied territories. Now, there has also been a noticeable increase in C-17 flights departing from Fort Campbell, potentially indicating the activation of the 101st Airborne Division. According to US officials, this activity appears to be related to contingency planning for a possible evacuation of US personnel or civilians from Lebanon. But of course, we heard this a few months ago. If you remember, we actually reported on it. And at the same time, and actually interesting to note, the 101st Division were deployed, I think it was in November 2022, to Romania on the borders with Ukraine. And here again, you have confirmation from the BBC and from Disclosed TV that Starmer is telling Britons to leave Lebanon immediately and sending 700 troops. Again, this is a repeat of a story from a couple of months ago to Cyprus for possible Lebanon evacuation. There are not that many British and American civilians in Lebanon that need this level of evacuation support. So we have to speculate why those forces are there right now.
Thank you, Vanessa, indeed.